I'm on a little bit of a quest to find a good on-the-go podcasting mic, something I can take with me. My Blue Yeti right here, obviously not taking this thing very far with me when I travel, at least not easily, and then I got to set up. Looking for something I can just plug and play, plug into my computer, and start recording. So I'm going to test a couple different options here, and we can compare the sound quality. I'm not going to go into a full-blown review on what I think of the mic and where to buy it and what the packaging looks like. Just straightforward, what is the sound quality like? How does it sound? And I Googled elephants and found this little passage right here, little paragraph. And I'm going to go through and read that on these different mics. So first one up is going to be the earbuds, Apple EarPods from Apple. They're the wired ones. When you go wireless, things do get distorted and they lower sound quality. So the actual AirPods I'm finding, or I've found based on samples online, don't sound as good as these ones right here, the traditional wired Apple earbuds. And everybody has them. For the most part, everybody has them. Many people have them. But they can be picked up for $30 online. And in my case, I'm also interested in sending a actual microphone type of system to my guests, because my guests aren't regular podcasters. So these are something that could be essentially disposable. I could buy them on Amazon for $30, send them, and if I don't get them back, who really cares? So the Apple earbuds are going to be the first one. The second one is going to be the Sennheiser PC8. This is one going for about $37 on Amazon. Has had really good reviews, and I forget what it is, but there's a podcast blog that rated this as like their best cheap microphone. So they definitely feel cheap, and I know the audio quality out of them is pretty good. I've kind of tested this one and done another video with this last week on it, but we'll see exactly how it stacks up to the other two. And then finally, we got the Rode Smart Lav Plus. So this is a plug-and-play mic, or not a plug-and-play mic, they all are. This one plugs into your audio jack like headphones, but on my MacBook, it does not work without this little adapter for headphones. So rather than if you just plug in the mic, it doesn't work. If you plug it in with the adapter and you have headphones in it as well, and you can do two headphones in this, I don't know if you can see that, but if you plug it in with this adapter, it will work. But then again, you're at about $70 for the mic, $20 for the little adapter, and then, you need another pair of headphones to make it work. So this one is getting up there, in price. I would certainly not consider this a throwaway solution, and the fact that you need an extra piece would make it more complicated for podcast guests that are not used to doing podcasts and stuff. You basically just want something plug and play. This one is probably the easiest, followed by... this one has a Bluetooth adapter. Some laptops actually don't even have, or USB adapter. This one is USB. The earbuds are straight to a 3.5 millimeter jack there. So, both of them pretty easy to set up. I think these ones are the most intuitive. Nobody's really going to be intimidated when they get these. But again, I might also use these myself when I'm trying to record something on a trip and can't have my Blue Yeti with me. So here we go. I'm going to read this little passage in front of me. Yeah, I guess I'll start up here and go down to here. I'm going to read this passage here about elephants, and I'm going to do it on my Blue Yeti first, and then I'll go into all three devices doing another clip. So here we go. Once common throughout Africa and Asia, elephant numbers were severely depleted during the 20th century, largely due to the massive ivory trade. While some populations are now stable and growing, poaching, conflict, and habitat destruction continue to threaten the species. The largest mammal on Earth, the African elephant, weighs up to 8 tons. The elephant is distinguished by its massive body, large ears, and a long trunk, which has many uses ranging from it as a hand to pick up objects, as a horn to trumpet warnings, an arm raised in greeting to a hose for drinking water or bathing. All right, so kind of butchered that a little bit there, but we'll see how it goes. I'm going to switch to one of these other devices, plug it in, and reread that. I'm now recording with the Apple earbuds. Here we go. I'm going to record this passage. Once common throughout Africa and Asia, elephant numbers were severely depleted during the 20th century, largely due to the massive ivory trade. While some populations are now stable and growing, poaching, conflict, and habitat destruction continue to threaten the species. The largest land mammal on Earth, the African elephant, weighs up to 8 tons. The elephant is distinguished by its massive body, large ears, and a long trunk, which has many uses ranging from using it as a hand to pick up objects, as a horn to trumpet warnings, an arm raised in greeting to a hose for drinking water or bathing. So that is it for the Apple earbuds. Let's jump on to the next test subject. This is now the Sennheiser PC8 recording. Here we go on the elephant's passage. Once common throughout Africa and Asia, elephant numbers were severely depleted during the 20th century, largely due to the massive ivory trade. While some populations are now stable and growing, poaching, conflict, and habitat destruction continue to threaten the species. The largest land mammal on Earth, the African elephant, weighs up to 8 tons. The elephant is distinguished by its massive body, large ears, and a long trunk, which has many uses ranging from using it as a hand to pick up objects, as a horn to trumpet warnings, as an arm raised in greeting to a hose or drinking water or bathing. So that is the Sennheiser PC8. Let's carry on with the next test subject. Now I'm recording with the Rode Smart Lav Plus mic. At least I hope I'm recording. I've already had a few botched tests with this because number one, you get that little adapter, so I didn't have it plugged in right. Number two, it wasn't set right in my computer. It's just not the most intuitive. You know, if you're going to have a podcast guest and you just want to send them something to plug and play, well, this one is probably not it. So I hope I'm recording this right, because here I go, reading this elephant passage for my final time, hopefully. Once common throughout Africa and Asia, elephant numbers were severely depleted during the 20th century, largely due to the massive ivory trade. While some populations are now stable and growing, poaching, conflict, and habitat destruction continue to threaten the species. The largest land mammal on Earth, the African elephant, weighs up to 8 tons. The elephant is distinguished by its massive body, large ears, and a long trunk, which has many uses ranging from using it as a hand to pick up objects, as a horn to trumpet warnings, an arm raised in greeting to a hose for drinking water or bathing. So there you have it. That's the Rode Smart Lav Plus. Let me listen to these here and give you my thoughts. And well, I'm sure you've got your own thoughts, so drop those in the comments below. I've now had a chance to go back and listen to all the audio samples. One thing I want to say is that these are all raw audio. I recorded them straight into Camtasia, one after another. You could probably look at my timestamp up here and see that. Recorded them raw right into Camtasia, so there's been no editing, no filters, or no audio editing. I actually don't really know much about audio editing myself. I just like to record them. I do outsource my podcast editing, but this is not edited in any way. Just went into Camtasia, click the record button, and boom, here is the audio quality. So that said, what do I think about all of them? Well, first of all, the Apple EarPods, I don't really know what to call them, Apple EarPods for $30 or so that you can pick up online, or if you have them, that came with your iPhone. These things are shockingly good. I was actually quite really impressed with these things. The Rode Smart Lav Plus mic right here, this little one, this one did pretty good. I'd say this one probably got the best quality audio, but it wasn't much better than the EarPods. I still don't know what to call these. The EarPods. So the Rode Smart Lav Plus, just a hair better than the EarPods. And then finally, the Sennheiser PC8. This thing might get the best audio if you're in a loud environment, but as long as you can record in a quiet environment, it didn't really seem to matter. And I say it might do better in a loud environment because it's got a one-way omnidirectional mic, not a unidirectional mic here, and it's always positioned quite well. So other than that, though, the actual audio that came out of this seemed a little bit muffled and mutated, kind of like an underwater tone to it. I don't really know what to call it, but I would say that it wasn't quite as good as the EarPods or the Rode Smart Lav Plus. While the Smart Lav Plus did have, in my opinion, the best audio, the difficulty with this is that it just kind of is a little difficult to set up, I guess. You need this little adapter. Some people say that it works if you just plug it right in directly, if you just plug that into your MacBook. However, that had not worked for me, so I bought this little thing just to try it, and it did work. Plug that in. You also need to plug in a headphone and then get it in. And then I think if that doesn't work, you have to pull it out and then plug it back in. So it's kind of the most complicated to work with. So if you're sending your guests a microphone to work with, it's the most expensive by about twice as much as the others. So $30, $36, $37, $70 for the Smart Lav, $20 for the adapter. So, it gets up there in price. It's the most expensive, but it's just not plug and play like the others. It's not as easy to work with. And I see the audio quality is only marginally better than the earbuds. So on that note, you got three kind of low-cost microphone devices there that you could use to get started with your podcast. or take on the go with you, or also send off to your guests, as I'm looking to do with these devices. On that note, if you're thinking about setting up a podcast and getting started, don't worry so much about all the technicals and getting a nice microphone and all that. Just get out your earpods right here and start recording. These things do create a good enough quality audio to have a viable podcast, a podcast with quite a few listeners. I don't know if there's any out there specifically recorded with these, but it no doubt could be done. You could have a good podcast with just these earpods. I was actually quite shocked to realize that I've had these lingering around, in my cabinet for so long and never actually pulled them out and tested them because in hindsight, I mean, if I could go back and do it all over again, I just would have started my podcast with this and not even have bought the Blue Yeti. I bought the Blue Yeti and another mic and tried them and then returned one and played with a bunch of audio settings. Now I'm beyond that, playing with audio settings. Yes, I do outsource my podcast editing to somebody on Fiverr, but in some cases, if I want to record something raw, I just put it out there raw, and I would be happy enough doing that with these earbuds. And I think that with professional editing, if you were to outsource the editing or look up some editing tricks, the audio that you get out of these earbuds could be shockingly good. Certainly good enough for a podcast. It's not going to be, audio quality is important when you're starting a podcast. Don't get me wrong on that. But more important than that is the content, audience, and sharing that you build around that podcast. So these are good enough. These are going to get you to a good enough starting point where you have good enough audio that you're comfortable enough sharing it and people listening to it think it sounds good, as long as your content behind it is good. You don't need to go out and buy this Blue Yeti mic. So keep that in mind. If you want to start a podcast, pick up your earbuds, go out there and record. If you want to send something off to your guests that are going to be on your podcast but don't have a podcast mic, they're not regular podcasters on the circuit, send them a set of these earpods or include this in your onboarding doc saying, hey, use a set of these earpods. Here's a link. You can buy them on Amazon for $30. Use these. That way you'll sound great to the audience. So hope that helps you guys. Thanks for watching.